oil in Ghana, LGA, without any hitches. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, has said that the point-of-sales POS agents who charge above 200 naira for the CBN cash swap program will be arrested and jailed when caught. Emefiele said this on Tuesday during a visit to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to discuss the monetary and currency redesign policy of the bank. The CBN governor further said that the POS operators can come to the CBN to be compensated for any extra costs incurred in getting the new notes rather than charging a higher fee on customers. We'll take a breather now and be back with a review of the stock market. To stay with us. The second day of trading saw the bourse take the upper hand as all-share index closed in the green at 0.24%. Market capitalization also closed at a 29 trillion naira mark. A top performance are Triple G and Company PLC as well as Courtville Business Solutions PLC with a combined gain of 17 kobo. Now on the flip side, International Energy Insurance PLC and Livestock Fields PLC top the losers table with a combined loss of 14 kobo. Now let's take a look at our market summary, which says that 177 million volumes of shares valued at 5.693 billion naira exchange hands in 3,617 deals. Now on the global scene, FTSE, Dow Jones and Nikkei. While FTSE and Nikkei are both in the green at 0.21 and 0.54% respectively, as Dow Jones could not keep its head above water. It ended in the day's trading in the reds at 0.79% as a result of the latest inflation data released early on Tuesday. And that's it on business news and stock market review. Back to you, Simi, for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Folashade, for that update. And on the global scene, the World Health Organization is set to hold an emergency meeting on the outbreak of the Marburg virus in Equatorial Guinea. 9 people have died from the hemorrhagic fever, and there are a further 16 suspected cases in the Eastern Kye-Intem province, where the disease has never previously been recorded. The deaths have been primarily linked to a funeral ceremony with 4 of the victims members of the same family. The virus is believed to be transmitted to people from fruit bats and, like Ebola, spreads between humans through the transmission of bodily fluids. In sports, the Nigeria Football Federation has disclosed that the 2023 edition of the Federation Cup will begin in May. The NFF revealed this in a statement at the end of its meeting on Monday in Abuja. The 2022 edition of the competition was inconclusive and no winner was announced by the NFF. The NFF said the competition would commence a week before the end of the 2022/2023 Nigeria Premier Football League season, adding that the winner of the competition, as well as the third-place team in the MPFL, would represent Nigeria in the 2024 edition of the CAF Confederation Cup. That's our news bulletin this evening. Thank you for staying with us. I am Simisola Atikun. Bye for now.
You look at Lagos and you'll think you're in one big dustbin, residents say,
as they narrate ordeals with pollution. According to the World Bank, at least 30,000 people die yearly in Lagos due to pollution, and the tales told by some residents bear witness to these statistics. This is home to over 300 families who reside in Itire Surulere on the Mushin local government area, a community built around the canal that has been transformed into a home recognized by the Lagos state government. Gaining entrance and a mixture of different putrid smell welcomes you. Children running around exposed to the biohazard, chemical hazard and physical hazard of living in this area.
So many years now we don't face this mess. If you can look around, you can take a cameraman to observe the area. Even you, where they talk to me, you perceive some odors. We get some small children here. She be una see us here, we dey chop here, we dey feed here. We are women, we are not Nigerians. Some days ago, one big rain will fall for this area. Small pikin for that park wey dey that side. Water carry pikin go. If you ask anybody for this area, they will tell you the story. And they come from mosque, so as I hear the story. But today now, okay, imagine the dirty around and all that. Rain never fall. If rain fall now, all this dirty now, you go enter person's house, you go enter anywhere. Cholera everywhere.
I think we know that we at maybe 15 years. Okay. Tajo wa nínú àdúgbò yìí. So ti ye. Àdúgbò gba tán dé ṣe títí Adébáyọ̀ bí tán ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ fún wa. Abili pé báyà wọ́n máa ṣe gbogbo gutter yìí náà ni. Wọ́n dé bá wa ṣe but insane bí ọmọ ṣe gbogbo ọmọ tí òjò wá gbé lọ lọ́jọ́ yẹn ló mú anybody gan ta because ìgbà tán bọ̀ wá láti Jímọ̀ lọ́jọ́ yẹn. Jímọ̀ ni wọ́n lọ. Wọ́n bọ̀ wá. Àwọn ọmọ yẹn wá mọ ibi tí orí pákó yẹn wà mọ́ àwọn méjì náà fara wọn lọ́wọ́. Ìkíní bó ṣe bọ́ sínú odò nìyẹn. Ìkejì olówó ń fẹ́ lọ fà. Ó fẹ́ lọ fà yọ. Bómi ṣe gbé yẹn lọ ti ẹ̀yìn. So ti àwa rọ ìjọba kan bá wa ṣe àdúgbò wa kó dáa.
I was born here. This is my year of 25 years now in this area. You understand? And this area now have been dirty for so years. When I was in small self, I was seeing all this kind of thing. Talk less of now that I've already been gotten hold. And still yet, the area is still like this. You understand? And I want government to come and do here so that it will be okay. So that water will not be flowed everywhere. This dirty now is not from only here. The dirty now from under side and other side too. They used to come here to come and jump hard. You understand? And when it jump hard, it affect us that lives around because the water does not flow. Assuming it's flowing now, we will not be complaining. Let them come and help us and do it so that this dirty now will not be just jump hard and be staying so that we will not be feeling sick.
Party packs, pet bottles, feces and other forms of bacteria-carrying components are the aesthetics around the surrounding. Having lived for many years, some of the residents I spoke to say they strongly believe the state government does not care about their lives or living conditions.
We dey pray for Nigerian government to help us for the environment. To help us, make government self come look this place. Make them know wetin to do for us so that we self go live better life as a good Nigeria wey we be.
Àwa rọ ìjọba kan bá wa ṣe àdúgbò wa kó dáa. Kan lè bá wa ṣe environment wa kó dáa because bómi ṣe ń gbé ọmọ lọ kó dáa. Wọ́n bá wa ṣe bridge bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. So ti yé, kan bá wa ṣe bridge bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn kó cross. Kó mi ó lè bá máa lọ because táwọn èèyàn bá ti ń lọ free. Kò ní sí pé bóyá omi ń gbọ́mọ lọ.
This place cannot take them just even though how many just a 6 months they will do it because of the corruption. Make some people, local government council, they will take off the money and put it in their pocket, eat it, and why we are suffering it.
In his journey to preach about healthy living and further prevent the spread of infectious diseases, public health expert Nsiabasi Ekonem joined me to this community where he says living in such an environment has long-term implications.
People are living here. There's a high level of pollution in these places such that even the air, the effluent from this place is really stinky, and that tells to air pollution. This air pollution affects people that are living here because you can see young children of under 5 years that are staying in this very dirty environment. that increases the advent of childhood diseases like cholera, diarrhea, amoebic dysentery, scabies, ringworm, dandruff, all those kind of skin diseases as a result of, the contact with water from this very, very, unhealthy environment. Because there is defecation, open defecation here, when the water comes up, it carries those feces and deposits them in open water sources like wells, and people fetch water from that well. This leads to, waterborne diseases like cholera, like, amoebic dysentery, hepatitis A and E, just all kinds of waterborne diseases.
Streets littered with waste, open defecation, air pollution and the likes are what residents of the commercial nerve center of Nigeria are faced with on a daily basis. In Lagos, environmental pollution is the order of the day. Residents deal with a suffocating mix of air pollution, improper solid waste disposal and other forms of pollution in the city streets, leaving many residents battling with respiratory problems, flooding and other illnesses.
The plastic waste, the rubber waste are the most dangerous because they do not decay. A lot of this plastic waste, they are not well disposed. They are not disposed of properly and they find their way into the drains. In Lagos State today, anywhere you find yourself, just open up the drains. Just open up the drainage system if it's covered. If it's not covered, it's obvious there. And you see a situation where when rain falls, a particular line of the drainage system, you see that waters are not flowing along that line because it's blocked. Now we have in Lagos State, the collectors were registered. Some of these trucks can't even get to the residence of a lot of the people living in the communities. So people have to converge at a particular point. Now when they dump the waste there, it takes a while before the collectors, the trucks arrive there to pick up the waste. That's another issue, which is another environmental issue. So the collection in itself is poor. And you see some of these trucks collecting this waste. When they even collect the waste on the road, you see it's part of the waste dropping on the road.
You look at Lagos, you think that you are in one big dustbin. Some people are in a bit cleaner part of the dustbin. But it's a huge dustbin we're in. This is not a city. Which part of the city you want to tell me? Tell me, I've gone around. Is it Lekki? Is it Koi? Or you want to tell me it's Ajegunle or Yanokwaja?
The way we live is also a problem. We have three important channels. We have the tertiary canals, we have the secondary canals, we have the primary canals. The tertiary canals is the one you see in front of your houses. Those ones are people called gutter in front of our houses. If that one in front of our houses is clean, the secondary canal will be clean. The primary canal, the big one, will be clean. And therefore you see a steady flow into the lagoon. But that tertiary canals in front of our houses where people dump in the dead of the night. When it is raining, they will go. When in the dead of the night, they will just go. Even people who should know better. People with full dose of Western education, you see them dropping those things inside the canal. That has been our problem. Because if the tertiary drains are okay, you won't see anything in the secondary drains. You won't see anything in the primary canals. You won't see anything in the lagoon.
While the megacity still practices the creation and maintenance of dump sites, which are situated close to the abode of residents, and with the monies doled out for the management of waste in the state, locals still suffer as a result of improper disposal of waste. These and many more prompted this investigation by TV360 Nigeria on why residents are made to deal with loss of lives and properties, and to get answers on if the state government is up to the task of making provisions for proper waste disposal and drainage maintenance.
The attitude is a problem, and Lagos spends a lot of money in cleaning the canals, dredging, constructing, that's giving it concrete alignment so that it will be easy for you to clean. There are so many of them, so we are taking it one after the other, one after the other. But the problem is the attitude of Lagosians. If you are driving on the corridor, you see them dropping it from their vehicles, dropping it. Thank God we have sweepers. We have thousands of sweepers in Lagos. By 5 o'clock, they're already on the street, taking those things. It could have been worse. So we are thinking, because we are thinking out of the box. What do? We are coming to the age of dikes. That's what is called dikes. That is using concrete wall to prevent, water from coming into the city. We're introducing pumps. And another one is to provide a kind of tunnel, a well, very deep well, where you allow this flood to go in. Thereafter, you now use pump to throw it into the lagoon.
With the increasing spate of indiscriminate dumping of waste in Lagos State, the mortality rate from pollution is set to witness a spike. In 2021, the state governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said his administration has spent over 2 billion naira on the rehabilitation of dump sites across the state, while another 1 billion naira is being invested to provide the necessary infrastructure for waste management. If these projects have been carried out, residents are yet to witness the results or see an improvement in waste management.
We're seeing recurrent cases of Lassa fever. Lagos is not spared. Of course, the rats go there, eat, pick jams, transfer to people, and then the same thing now we're having monkeypox. So in reality, if we deal with the challenges of waste alone, I am sure that our health system will be good. Our health itself will be good. Now, when you now get to the waterways, plastic floating, dead animals floating, dead human being floating, microplastic dropping into the water, fish swallowing them, we eating the fish. It's a scandal. It's honestly a scandal. I think the more we put attention to the challenges of the environment and how waste is handled in this part of the world, the better for us. A mega city, 25 million people, still counting, and we cannot get waste right, waste disposal right. We're not ready.
The poor waste management system and then the flooding, they go hand in hand. So I just want to ask, would you think this is a challenge for the government? Because then again, we have the rules, don't dump your waste, and every other thing that the state government puts in place, but then people do not obey this. So is this a challenge for the government? Would you say the government cannot handle its residents?
No. Just like every other society, these things are when you are trained for a long time. When you do something, when you are trained to do something, right from day one, you will comply. You will comply. We are not throwing our hands up into surrender. We are doing our work. We are not complaining. But we are doing advocacy. We are talking. We are having meetings. We go for retreats. We talk to Lagosians through radio and television. We will continue to do that until we get civilized in such a way that you cannot, when you finish your bottled water, through the window. We'll get to a time when people will not do it again. We'll get to a time when you not see, plastics on our roads, cellophane paper, this takeaway place, you will not see it.
Environmental pollution is not the only challenge residents face as a result of improper waste disposal. The rising issue of climate change, a resulting effect of human activities, has upset the balance of nature. Rising sea levels, extreme weather conditions, and intense droughts can wreak havoc on people's livelihoods and communities. A visit to an environmentalist helps paint a clearer picture of the disaster that awaits Lagos State if nothing is done about the nonchalance of residents and the government.
In Lagos, we have a situation where dump sites are located or sited away from the community, but there is no restriction that halts urbanization to that located dump site. So, for example, there's a place called Yanoba. The place was located about 25 years ago, and it was far from city. But there was no restriction in terms of urbanization, urban development. Today, there are houses surrounding that dump site. So, health-wise, the people living around that place are not safe. That's one. The Olusosun dump site at Ojota, when it was located, houses were far from that place. You know, it's a place that in those days, because the methane, when the heat from the methane starts coming out, you see smoke coming out. You think they are burning the waste. They are not. It's the methane that is reacting. All right. So you see this is from distance. But today, houses have been built around that place, such that people who are living there, they are not safe. The water system is poisoned. It's not safe. All right. Then the methane that comes out of that, emits from that place, it's not safe for the humans living around there.
Lagos State generates 13,000 tons of waste daily, but not all of the waste ends up at designated dump sites. Some end up in canals, drains, and on the road.
In terms of management of the dump sites, usually in most countries, these things are kind of like privatized to companies who are genuinely involved in environmental activities, to experts who understand this thing. Right, the government cannot do it alone. The government is expected to generate, to bring up, put up legislations. You know, they are supposed to be a kind of, they try to stabilize within the private sector and the public sector, right? But they are not expected to manage the dump sites. Professionals who understands the dangers and the kind of harmful chemicals that comes out of that dump site are supposed to manage the dump site. But here, an agency was created, LOMA, to manage that dump site, okay? And those dump sites are not well managed. We gathered every year to discuss the environment issues in Lagos State. You know, we call it the Climate Change Summit, where a session is dedicated to waste management. It was during that particular period we introduced this idea of having separating waste. But ever since then, the advocacy on separation of waste has been poor. It has been put aside. So waste management in Lagos State now is poor. There was a time they made it mandatory for every house, every building to have a waste bins, the big bins. Then Loma produced all those things. Today, what do we have? Do we have them at all? People have to find a way to just get their waste sorted out somewhere. During the same time of Ashola, every last Saturday of the month was the Environmental Sanitation Day, where everybody in the community will meet and they will discuss and they will see what they can do. Okay, these are the issues, these are the community issues, how they dump their waste, if they are going to dig the floor, and you know, a lot of things they do. But since they cancelled the monthly sanitation, what has been happening? People pay less concern in terms of what happens within the environment, especially on waste disposal.
This sight and the smell being emitted and inhaled is a regular sight and way of life for Lagosians. Dumping waste at designated dump sites located around residential areas are a breeding ground for different sorts of contagious illnesses. Despite the fetid smell, trading activities take place around these dump sites, while motorists, passers-by and residents close to the dump sites battle with the stench daily.
I'm not okay with it because I have breathing issue. Though I thank God that God is taking control. But this thing has affected me again after I got cured. So government should do something about it.
It has affected everybody around this place. Both residents, bypassers, everybody. Every living human being is being affected by this thick smoke here.
According to the World Health Organization, globally, almost 1 in 10 people are estimated to fall ill every year from eating contaminated food, while 420,000 die from foodborne diseases, which can be deadly, especially in children under 5 years of age, and out of the 420 deaths, 1/3 are children. The World Health Body also says making the environment healthier can prevent about 13 million deaths yearly and avoid 13% to 37% of the world's disease burden.
When these places have been contaminated with pollutants, with debris, it blocks the flow of water. And so because it blocks the flow of water, and this was originally a canal that would have served as a route for water to move, the water comes up and fill people's homes.
Sometimes when you see children with diarrhea, you battle and they die. You cry, you feel depressed. I remember in one of the situations, one of the instances, the baby was probably playing, a day before and got bad. The mother, they were trying to do what they like. But by the time they brought the baby, lady was bad. an emergency room, the baby died.
The revelation by the medical practitioners raised some form of concern as I proceeded to the Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board for an interview with the permanent secretary of the board, Ibrahim Akinwumi Mustafa, after an official request through a letter submitted at the office of the permanent secretary and series of calls and message exchanges with the public relations officer of the board, Olumide Filani. My continuous request for an interview with the permanent secretary was turned down with jet lag as an excuse. The request for statistics of Lagos State residents who have been treated for cholera and other diseases contracted through food or water since the start of 2022 was also turned down, as I was informed that such data cannot be easily provided to me for reasons best known to the board.
Coming from weeks back where I was told I could get the statistics or the data, it seems like a failed day.
However, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, in its July 4th to 31st, 2022 report, citing routine case-based data and outbreak line list retrieved by the National Cholera Technical Working Group, Lagos had 47 suspected cases of cholera with 1 death. Also, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control states that as of July 31st, 2022, a total of 3,610 cholera cases, including 91 deaths, were reported from 31 states in Nigeria, and that as of September 16th, 2022, 1,087 suspected cholera cases, including 13 deaths, were reported in Nigeria. A sit-down interview with a public health expert on the way forward is next on the agenda as Dr. Akanem narrates the poor living condition of Lagosians and its side effects.
I have managed a number of patients who had cholera. Some had hepatitis A, some had amoebic dysentery, and others had diarrhea. And of course, there are clear symptoms of this condition, like vomiting, stooling, of course, like abdominal pain, and many other symptoms that are characteristics of cholera or amoebic dysentery or hepatitis A. I've practically seen cases where people also have their food stuff, their fruits and other things they sell, edible commodities, fall into gutters, fall into flood water, and they still pick it up and sell it to Lagosians. These are some of the things that are causing the myriads of diseases that we see in Lagos year in, year out. Have you wondered why Lagos is the epicenter of disease infection across the length and breadth of Nigeria? It's because of the poor drainage and the poor disposal of waste. Unfortunately, these are the things that we are experiencing in Lagos. This must stop, and for this to stop, we must improve our sewage disposal, we must improve the disposal of waste materials, and we must limit air pollution as much as possible.
Taking a walk around the surrounding of the health expert's residence, and you can tell the reason behind his passionate call for a cleaner Lagos.
I stay in Lagos, and I can tell you that in my location where I stay in Lagos, waste is not properly disposed. The gutters are very dirty, and there's no conscious effort to ensuring that Lagos is clean. We pay our dues as at when due, but unfortunately, the waste management agencies are not doing their work.
In July 2022, an unprecedented 2-day rainfall claimed the lives of 3 children of the same parents and 4 adults at the Mercy of Christ Apostolic Church in Lagos State. This is one of the many incidents that have transpired in the state, with many living in fear during the rainy season.
On the 8th day of that continuous rainfall, which was on a Sunday, the entire Lagos was flooded. And I have a personal friend who works with a bank who was called to come restore funds in the ATM machine. He went there and he was coming back with the wife, and they got their vehicles got taken over by the heavy flow of water, and he dumped them in the wide drainage around Bagada. And after 3 days, that was when they saw their bodies, and this person I'm talking about happens to be my account manager at the GT Bank as at then. So that's my own experience. There are a lot of experiences in Lagos State that we have experienced, even in other cities as well. Drains, even in other cities outside Lagos State, where flooding has been responsible for, unnecessary and loss of life. And that wasn't the only experience. In that particular year, about a total of 21 people died across Lagos State in different communities.
May we not have the kind of flooding we have in other climes, which will lead to the deaths of hundreds of people. There's one that almost 1,000 people died, I think, either in Pakistan or so. First, government will sympathize with the people. This is a natural thing that we cannot prevent. You sympathize, through empathy.
The National Emergency Management Agency says flood has claimed the lives of over 300 people in 2022, with the figure on the rise as bad roads and blocked drainages have led to increased flooding. A World Bank publication, Cost of Pollution in Lagos, estimates that illness and premature deaths due to ambient air pollution caused losses of $2.1 billion in 2018, representing 2.1% of the state's GDP. For the government, the environmental challenges residents face is no fault of theirs, but mainly that of the residents. Nigeria's commercial hub and former capital was ranked 171 out of 172 countries in the list of the world's second least livable urban area and worst city in Africa, leaving the city with its economic, political and security challenges to also dwell in a heap of waste. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dssPR@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
what we're having here today, the theme of the exhibition is wet in waste. That is, what are the wet you can get from waste product, that is coconut shell. So, and the reason why we are saying wet in waste is that we have so many processors around. We have people that use coconut for their products, like coconut oil, coconut candy, coconut flakes. The name has so many. But what do they do to the shell? Nothing. So if you eat coconut, the shells, you throw it off. But some of them, they use it for making fire, fueling their fire while cooking. But that can cause environmental pollution. So we are using this now to tell a story that, okay, instead of destroying the environment, why don't you get the wet that is involved? Instead of throwing it to block our drainages, why don't you turn it to a wet making machine? So that is just the short story behind the wet in waste. Aside from that, it is unique and nobody is using it for anything. When I started, I didn't see anybody that is doing anything like installations like this. In fact, when I Google online, what I saw were craft works, cups, key holders, and the rest of them. But I started doing this just to give myself a unique name from others. The response has been very, very good. Though initially when I started, people were like, what type of thing is this? They gave me so many names. Sometimes if I stretch my hand to greet some people, they will say, your hand is too tough, blah, blah, blah. But today now the rest is story. And initially the acceptance was not there. I was giving my souvenirs to people free of charge. But now I sell them at good prices. The funny thing about the Circle of Nigerian Coconut Artists is that we started in February. The dream just came, okay, why don't you bring these people that are doing coconut craft together? I have some of them who are my participants that I've trained over time during workshops. So, and some of them, they don't practice the craft again, because the challenges are there for them. How do they sell their craft works? Who do they sell to? And the challenges of how do you cut, how do you remove the debris and the rest of them. So many challenges. But the basic one is, if they produce it and they don't sell, they stop producing. So we are using this now to create a kind of platform for them, so that they can showcase their work. You can see different stands here. You can see different tables with different type of artworks, even this. So they now have a platform where they can exhibit the works. When visitors come around, they see, and with that, they will be encouraged to do more. So that is the story behind this. What we do is we'll cut the shells. When you cut the shells, you remove the debris, you sand it in and out and cut the shapes you want. Then, if you want to do stuff like this, you start joining them together with gum. You have handsaw, you have jigsaw, you have bandsaw, depending on the level at which you are. If you are just starting, you can't get a bandsaw, because to buy a bandsaw now is expensive. So you can start with the hand hacksaw. Is going viral, and another thing is that we are taking it to the 5 divisions of Lagos State. After Badagry, we are going to other divisions. We have Ikorodu, we have Epe, we have mainland. So we are taking this show around there. So if we have the opportunity of showcasing it 10 days in other divisions, so we'll do, just to encourage the young ones around, so that they can join us in removing debris from my environment and turning it to waste, to wet. Like this one, if you have seen Eyo before, this is that cap they put on. So I use this now to represent Eyo. Instead of putting the whole thing, it will be too big for me. So I just decided to work on the cap alone. So that is that about Eyo. And here we have Yeye Oge. This Yeye Oge, I don't know, I just love the work. Now, I use this to tell a story of a young lady. And generally, most of our ladies, they are the only one who has been questioning God, that why do you create me this way? The eyelashes are not enough, they want to add more. The lipsticks are not too clean as created by God, they want to add more. And they will embellish their hair with so many designs. So that is what I just use this one to represent, just epitome of love. Simple. The Last Supper that Jesus Christ had with his disciples. Now, I use these ones here to represent the disciples, and this is Jesus here. If you count, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the disciples, and this is their table. And while eating your drink, you need a jug to fetch water from. You have that, you have the cup, and you have the fruit. Instead of putting amala and the rest, I decided to use just fruit. This is August meeting. Yes, now August meeting is popular among our friends from the East, whereby they have their colorful attire, uniform attire, and they celebrate themselves, the women mostly. So that's why I have about 3 women there with different gele and the rest. This one now, I title it the National Summit. There's so many stories behind it. Now, at the center you have banana, and the objects surrounding it look like monkeys. So, yes, now, without much decoration, you see this is the mouth, this are the eyes for monkeys. Now, but I'm using this now to represent the Nigerian setting or the Africa setting, whereby we have delegates, people who will send them, okay, go and represent us. But they are not particular about the people that sent them. When they get